Scott, Cody in with sports. I know it's only one game, but it looked like the Saints got a little swagger back.
Yeah, I think this game made up for those lackluster games to start the season without a doubt. The questions were as persistent as the Saints' offense was inconsistent. Where were the big plays? What was wrong? Why was the league's most dominant attack pedestrian this season? Today, the Saints calmed those worries with a 31-6 win in Tampa. First possession for the Saints, and a deep play gets them on the board. Drew Brees, a perfectly placed pass to Lance Moore, 41 yards for the score. Brees completing his first 7 passes of the game. Next possession for the Saints. The commitment to the run was all in today. Chris Ivory, the best rushing day for a Saints rookie since Ricky Williams. He steamrolls Ronde Barber on that play. Same drive, more Brees. He avoids the rush, resets and fires, finding Robert Meacham. That capped off a 9-play, 80-yard drive, 14-0 Saints. That's their largest lead of the season. But the defense, they had just 1 sack all day. They continued, however, to get pressure when they needed to. Malcolm Jenkins on the blitz, forcing Josh Freeman to get rid of the ball before he wanted to. Bucks have to punt. More Ivory. This run, the longest of the season for the Saints. 33 yards for the undrafted rookie out of Tiffin. He had 15 carries, 158 yards. First 100-yard game for a Saints back since week 3 of 2009. That drive, however, would eventually stall. Garrett Hartley back as the starter. He sneaks this one through from 26 yards out. 17-0 Saints. The champs finally catching some breaks today. Connor Barth for the Bucks from 40 yards out, doinks it. The shutout would remain intact for now. Brees in the offense with a chance to get another score going into the half, but his pass is tipped. The carom falls into the hands of Cody Graham. Saints settle for a 17-0 halftime lead. Third quarter, another long drive for the Saints would stall in the red zone, and this isn't good. Another shank by Hartley. This miss from just 33 yards out. The Bucks take over, but the defense would come through. Cadillac Williams on the carry for Tampa, stripped by Roman Harper. Marvin Mitchell eventually pounces on the loose football. 3 fumbles forced today by the Saints defense. They could only recover 1, however. The Saints offense, though, capitalizes on that lone turnover. Brees to Heath Evans, 24-0 Saints, comfortably ahead. Now the question is, can the defense pitch the shutout? Connor Barth from 47 yards out, another doink. And perhaps he wants to shave that thing so no one in Tampa would recognize him. Late in the fourth quarter now, thanks to a couple of penalties, the Bucks at the goal line, 4th and goal. Freeman, a tough pass, finds Ole Miss product Michael Spurlock. They go for 2 and don't get it. The shutout busted, although the huge road win still intact. By far the Saints' most complete game of the 2010 season, and one that finally resembled something from their Super Bowl run a year ago. Drew Brees tosses 3 touchdowns. Chris Ivory bull rushed his way to a 10.5-yard per carry average against the Buccaneers, helping the Saints get to 4-2 overall and into a tie with Atlanta atop the NFC South.
Anytime you have a game like Arizona where you feel like it's definitely a game you should win, and you just nobody plays well, you squander opportunities. That's frustrating and disappointing, and you can't get back on the field fast enough. So our mindset all week was, listen, let's focus on the process, have great preparation, great week of practice, and go on the road and win a big divisional game, and that's what we were able to do.
It's a long march here, and it's important that they do see the areas in regards to rushing, for instance, statistically, the last 2 games, or defensive yards given up rushing, and because it's easy to say, look, these are the areas that we haven't been as good at, and clearly we needed to address that. But it's important that, that they just keep chopping wood and getting better, and they did a good job of that this week.
The Dirty Birds.
This is the last word on sports. 4th down on 4 starts now.
Welcome into 4th down. The Saints' offensive prowess is finally back. The big plays, they're back too. And so is the confidence, perhaps, that this team isn't as far removed from last year's as previously thought. Jim Henderson recaps the Saints' 4th win of the season from Tampa.
For 1 week at least, a lot of questions were answered by the Saints today. What's wrong with Drew?
Brees gets time, he throws deep for Moore, he's got it, touchdown!
Where's the commitment to the running game?
Here goes Chris Ivory. Here's the longest run of the season for the New Orleans Saints.
All answered affirmatively. Maybe the only question unanswered is this one. Can Garrett Hartley be a dependable kicker again for this team? He hit from 27, missed from 33, wide left. But otherwise, everything fell in place for the Saints today, beginning with a 94-yard touchdown drive to open the game. The 5th time in 6 game-opening drives that the Saints have scored this season.
That's always important, because you script those plays, and you're always wondering how, you've studied all the film, but you're wondering, hey, how are they going to play us? And so I think it's a great sign of just how well prepared you are and how you've been able to adjust quickly in that first drive as to what they're doing.
That 41-yarder to Lance Moore was followed by a 42-yarder to Robert Meacham. Big play touchdowns from an offense that had had a paucity of them.
Great job by Lance, great job by Meacham. Just the ability to hit on some big plays early on. I think it really sets the tone, it gives you confidence, gives you momentum.
Breeze hit 10 different receivers on this day, including fullback Heath Evans. And while he was delighted to get in the end zone for the first time this season, he was equally delighted for the success of his running back, Chris Ivory. 15 attempts for Ivory, 158 yards, an average of 10.5 yards per carry. Not bad for a no-name running back from a little-known school.
We know the kid can run the ball. We just got to kind of keep building on his football knowledge. It's a huge game difference between the college level and this pro level, especially with Sean Payton calling the shots. So we just got to keep building, and he's doing a good job, and he'll continue to get better.
For Ivory, the day was a reward for months of commitment.
It feels good, I worked for it, been working hard in practice, every day of the week, I'm trying to get better. And I guess I saw a little improvement this game.
Only an absence of interceptions and a close call with a shutout dampened the defense's dominant day.
We almost got the goose egg, except for, my fault. But, we're definitely pleased in how we played offensively, defensively, and special teams.
This is the Saints team their fans have been waiting for all season long. And for today, at least, it had much more than just its moment in the sun here in Tampa. Jim Henderson, 4th down on 4.
Thank you, Jim. Well, as he's done before, Breeze following up his sub-70 passer rating last week with one north of 109 today. Ivory's huge afternoon didn't result in a score, although Liddell Betts did find the end zone. Robert Meacham led the way as the Saints averaged 12.5 yards per reception this afternoon. Defensively, Roman Harper credited with 2 forced fumbles, only one of which was recovered by the Saints. Well, not since Ricky Williams has a Saints rookie rushed for more yards than Chris Ivory did today. His steady progression, though, hasn't been without some steps backwards.
With Chris Ivory cutting it back.
Chris Ivory's first 18 yards today came on the Saints' first offensive play from scrimmage. And the rest, as they say, was history. The undrafted rookie free agent ran around, over, and through the Buccaneers, giving the Saints a 100-yard rusher for the first time since Week 3 of last season.
That's a great thing. If you put in the work, something's going to come out of it, But I'm just looking forward to making the progress every game. And, I know every game is probably not going to be, the best, but I look forward to having a good game throughout the season and make a step every game.
But even after averaging better than 10 yards per carry against Tampa, the Saints' latest diamond in the rough wasn't without fault. Another fumble, one Ivory attributed to a hand cramp, mercifully landed out of bounds, and other miscues not registered in the stat book didn't go unnoticed by his teammates. But neither did his accomplishments.
What about that running back number 29 behind you with the kind of day he had?
He's getting better, and we know the kid can run the ball. We just got to kind of keep building on his football knowledge. It's a huge game difference between the college level and this pro level, especially with Sean Payton calling the shots. So we just got to keep building, and he's doing a good job, and he'll continue to get better.
He played great. He's a young back who's got a lot of talent still, learning his way around, this league, obviously, but he had a huge day. He almost 10 yards a carry, over 150 yards on the day, had some big runs, had just some tough, 5-yard runs, but, those are the type of runs that move the chains and, I think, wear a defense out.
We look deeper into the Saints' win today as we welcome in WWLTV.com beat reporter Bradley Hanwerger. Thanks for coming in. Chris Ivory, obviously still a work in progress, but as we kind of look ahead to when the Saints start getting a little healthier, what do you think his role will become as they start getting Pierre Thomas and they start getting Reggie Bush back?
I think he's kind of the change-up guy. With Reggie, you've got the guy who can be all over the field, catch passes out of the backfield, can run out of the backfield. With Pierre, you got the guy that never say die running through the tackles. But Chris kind of does everything. He's good outside the tackles. You saw today he ran really well inside the tackles, spinning and really churning for the extra yards. And I think he's he's the type of guy they've kind of been missing the past couple of years. I mean, Bell gave him that last year a little bit, but he, as much of a work in progress as he is, he seems a little bit like the real deal.
He's got to work on those fumbles, though, or he's not going to hardly get any trust from Sean Payton once he gets those trustworthy guys back. Well, we saw the team finally kind of right the ship, at least offensively, starting off quick with a 94-yard drive and then an 80-yard drive. What do you think was the most important part of getting this offense back on track?
Not the opening drive. They'd scored, heading into this game, they'd scored on 4 or 5 opening series of the game. So that's not something they'd struggled with. The thing that I was interested in and I thought was the biggest thing for them was scoring on that second series and moving down the field subsequently every other series, because that's not something they had done this year. Penalties had gotten in the way, turnovers had gotten in the way, and this time they finally came through and did it.
And then getting the turnover defensively and turning it into points. It's something that they hadn't been able to do as well, take advantage of those limited opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's funny. After last week, we all talked about, is the ball starting to bounce the wrong way for the Saints? Well, today the ball seemed to bounce the right way. You know, the 2 fumbles went out of bounds, and they got the fumble today, and they turned everything into positives for them, and that's what wasn't happening in the first 5 weeks, really.
Connor Barth doinks 2 off the crossbar. Yeah, no, definitely that's you're bouncing your way. 212 yards of rushing for the Saints offense today, led, of course, by Chris Ivory, and most of those came behind the right side of that line. Jari Evans and John Stinchcomb. Jim Henderson caught up with the Saints' right tackle after the game.
With John Stinchcomb in the winning locker room, much better feeling than a week ago at this time, isn't it?
No question. We came out and we really wanted to answer some of our critics and really prove to ourselves that we can play a lot better ball than what we've shown so far. So to come out today and be able to put points on the board and feels good.
I think they were 30th against the run, so obviously you saw an opportunity looking at tape and looking at the statistics to run the football on these guys, and some of the bigger holes in the entire year were opened by you in that front line.
Well, statistically would have told you we were 31st in rushing too, so you can't always buy into statistics. You know, that was definitely part of our game plan, is come in here and try to run the football effectively, and you know, with the way our running backs are running it right now, makes us all better.
You got a chance to see Chris Ivory not only running behind you, but running in front of you for some big games as he easily cracked the 100-yard barrier. He was impressive. It looked like he did in preseason.
Well, when guys are playing that hard, you know, there's always going to be 1 or 2 bodies left, usually a safety or a corner. And with Chris running the way he is and the rest of the backs, breaking tackles and extending runs that, you know, would usually be 4 to 6 yards, and now all of a sudden they're 12, 30. That's a good feeling. That's great for this entire offense. It's going to open up things in the passing game and really balance out our overall attack.
John, thank you so much.
Thanks.
And I think John Stinchcomb and Jari Evans needed to have a big game. They still had a couple of penalties, but so uncharacteristic of both of these guys through the first part of this season as far as penalties and missed blocks and things like that. It was nice to see them and see Sean Payton kind of trust that side of the line.
Absolutely. Well, the game of football, as much as anything, it's a confidence thing and it's a mental thing. And when you see Jari and John start having good luck and start following through on blocks and having success, that's just going to boost their confidence. And I think you're going to see positive steps from here on out.
It could have been really bad as you start looking at to gauge how big of a win this was to lose a game like this when you consider Tampa's 2 losses this season. Pittsburgh and now the Saints have been lost by a combined 69-19. The Saints needed to win this game, although it is big to go on the road and win within the division.
It wasn't a must win, but it was a big win and one they needed. And as far as Tampa goes, don't discount the fact that it's a young team, not necessarily sure of what they were. So if they're winning, they're going to have this confidence and play, you know, not necessarily knowing who they are. And to go into Tampa and win like they had, especially when the Saints hadn't played this strongly all year, is big for the Saints.
Yeah. All right, much more with WWLTV.com's Bradley Hanwerger when we return. You're watching 4th Down. Still ahead.
I stay sharp. Pull up in the whip with the matching outfit. Pull up in the whip with the matching outfit. Pull up in the whip.
After starting the season on the physically unable to perform list, Darren Sharper is now eligible to get back in uniform and back on the field for the Saints next week. But does that old adage, you can't lose your starting job to injury, apply in his case. No player enjoyed a Saints win last year more than Darren Sharper, and no one is more anxious to get back into the celebration now.
I've been anxious since day one, since week one. You know, I want to get back out there and play, but you know, when I was put on the PUP list, I know it was going to be 6 weeks, so I just understood that, and now that it's getting closer, I'm just getting myself more and more ready to come back.
But it's not guaranteed that Sharper will even be activated. Per league rules, the Saints now have 3 weeks to decide whether or not to put last year's pick leader on their active roster, and even still, if he'll be in the starting lineup. In Sharper's absence, Malcolm Jenkins has played solid, but has yet to log a single interception.
I don't know what that exactly is going to mean or what is going to happen. That's up to the coaches to decide. What I can do is just go and show that I'm able to play. I'm healthy, and I can go out there and play and contribute to this team, and that's going to be their decision to decide on that.
We welcome back in WWLTV.com's Bradley Hanwerger. Do you think that they activate him within that 3-week window that you have, speaking of Darren Sharper?
I would think possibly this week. Maybe not start him this week, but get him in there occasionally, get some experience, and have him back by the Pittsburgh game, because that's a game where they're going to need all hands on deck, because Pittsburgh's played really good football this season.
Yeah, well, all hands on deck finally included Lance Moore, and the big pass play today. His 4th touchdown pass started the ball rolling for the Saints as they amassed 31 points in their win. Jim Henderson caught up with the Saints wide receiver after the game.
This is the 5th time in 6 opening drives in games this year that you guys have scored. Been really successful at that. Of course, you got the first one today.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something that we try to do every week. You know, you want to set the tone, you want to come out, you want to drive right down the field, and you know, usually you want to score a touchdown, but the main goal is to get points, and we were able to do that today.
Secret was not getting into the red zone too early. I mean, you guys scored from 41 and 42 yards the first 2 times.
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you get a chance to get a shot over the defensive back's head, you know, it's good for the offense, and you know, definitely makes the numbers look good for Drew right there.
Yeah, he was 7 of 7 for 99 yards, a touchdown, and a perfect quarterback rating through the first quarter.
It's Drew Brees being Drew Brees.
And Lance Moore being Lance Moore. Tell me about how you got so wide open.
It was just something that we saw on film, the way that they play that cover 2 defense. You know, sometimes the guys on the outside might be open. Kind of the same thing happened with Meacham on his touchdown, and just got to be ready for the ball. Drew threw a perfect ball and touchdown.
We talked about the importance of getting the ball down the field, which I really think helped out that running game. What was different? Was it just Drew taking some shots? Was it the Bucs secondary missing some assignments?
Well, I mean, they started the game with 3 running plays and 3 good running plays, and it gets the ball rolling. It kind of softens up the coverage. And once the coverage is softened up, and you heard after the game Drew talk about, I think it was on the Meacham touchdown, that they didn't get the coverage they liked, but Robert ran the route the right way, and Drew was able to get the ball down the field to him. I think it was as much Drew putting the ball where it needed to be as much as the running game helped open up the deep.
You can always catch Bradley Hanwerger's thoughts at WWLTV.com. Every Monday, he and Jim Henderson sat down for Fan Chat. You can see that at 6:30 on WWLTV.com. Read his commentary, his blogs, his video reviews, everything right there online. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you around. Stay with us. Much more 4th Down after the break. From the earthquake game to the 07 Hail Mary, LSU and Auburn have had some epic battles. Saturday's game shouldn't disappoint either. We'll turn our attention to college football when we come back.
It is a television station dedicated to the highest journalistic standards.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Wolfering.
And I'm Angela Hill. Good news tonight for New Orleans.
That expanded with the first 24-hour local news channel in America. This is Channel 15's Newswatch, the #1 TV website in Louisiana.
Visit our website at WWLTV.com.
And a sister station that is distinctly New Orleans.
Coming to you from the French Quarter.
This is My 54. For your business, put the power of 4 to work for you.
Hi, I'm Joe Paternostro. Ray Brand Collision Center opened in 1987 with 5 locations. Our techs are ICAR certified and use the latest technology. Let your insurance company know you want Ray Brand Collision Center to fill all your collision repair needs.
Washington just doesn't get it. It's like on a different planet. Spending and debt has ramped up enormously, and the power and role of the federal government has ramped up.
Through the first 5 games of the season, the Saints were looked upon as a measuring stick by their opponents. How do we measure up against the defending world champions? Have we reached their echelon? Yesterday, Game 6 of the season for the Saints was almost like a reverse measuring stick. Have we regressed enough, and have young, rebuilding teams like the Bucs and the Cardinals and the Panthers before them progressed enough to stay right with the Super Bowl champions to the end and to even beat them? Yesterday, for 1 week at least, the answer was this: the Bucs have a long way to go to rise to the Saints' level, and the Saints have not fallen to theirs. No team in the NFC has a better record than the Saints, and the only two in the NFL who do both reside in the AFC, a conference that the Saints have yet to face, and when they do, for the first time this Sunday against the Browns, will be hosting the team with the second worst record in it at 1-5. AFC North heavyweights Pittsburgh and Baltimore are still to be played, but perhaps when the Saints do, Pierre Thomas and Reggie Bush will be available. Until they are, there's Chris Ivory, and he showed yesterday what he can do when the line opens some holes. Either the Saints running game or the Bucs run defense had a chance to get a lot better yesterday. The Saints ranked 31st in the NFL running the football. The Bucs were 30th in the league stopping the run. As Dick Vitale, who was in the stands yesterday, might have put it, it was an NC, baby, no contest. The Saints rushed for 212 yards, nearly 40 more per game than the Bucs had been giving up, nearly 140 yards more than the Saints had been averaging on the ground. Reggie Bush's lower body is like crystal, fragile. Pierre Thomas is like Tupperware, durable and yet frequently scarred by the rough treatment it routinely receives. Chris Ivory reflects his surname, Ivory, hard, durable, slick, especially when eventually polished. Yesterday, we got a chance to see a backfield of Evans, Heath, and Ivory play together in perfect harmony. What remains a discordant note for Saints fans is the inconsistency of kicker Garrett Hartley, but you can only hope it's overpowered by a symphony of scoring and more one-sided victories. Such are kickers. Yesterday, Connor Barth came into that game for Tampa perfect on the season and having made his last 12 field goal attempts. The Bucs changed punters late in the week, giving him a new holder, and he hits the right upright on both of his missed field goal attempts. How many kicks today would it take for him to duplicate that? Well, you probably don't want to know, nor do you want to know who's currently the hottest kicker in the NFL. He's a kicker the Saints got rid of after the 2007 season. Olindo Mare has made 25 straight for Seattle and hasn't missed in over a year. Here he was no Lindo. When his foot hit the ball and you don't score at all, that's a Mare. That's the life of a kicker. Hot foot 1 week, hot seat the next. I hope you'll join Bradley Handwerger.
Speed kills, especially when it comes in a big package, all in tonight's Saints-Bucs breakdown. Saints running back Chris Ivory is known as a power back, but he is a speed back as well. Ask Rondé Barber. On this cutback, Ivory simply runs past Barber for 18 yards. Here, a Tampa Bay defender seems to have a beat on Ivory, who runs right by him as part of a 33-yard gain. A lot of Buck fans stayed home Sunday, but one of the Bucs' biggest fans was on the other team. Saints wide receiver Robert Meacham obviously has a thing for Tampa Bay. In the last 3 games against the Bucs, Meacham has 4 touchdown receptions, including a 42-yarder Sunday. On the pass to Meacham, the Saints got a break. Right guard Jari Evans could have been whistled for a false start. Clearly, he moved before the snap, but the play continued. Touchdown, Saints. Saints kicker Garrett Hartley is not kicking with confidence. Hartley clearly looks up prematurely. Look where the ball is. It has just left his foot, and Hartley is already looking at the uprights. Result, a hooked 33-yard field goal attempt. No good. The Saints are 13.5-point favorites for Sunday's game in the Dome against Cleveland. The odds makers say the Saints are the biggest favorite on this week's NFL card. The winner in Saturday's LSU and Auburn. I'm sure they're glad they didn't. Auburn, a 6.5-point favorite in the game. LSU has won the last 3 meetings in the series. Well, some coaches ignore the obvious and do so at their own peril. Take, for instance, LSU's Les Miles. Saturday against McNeese, quarterback Jarrett Lee led the Tigers to a pair of touchdown drives on their 3rd and 4th series. The next time LSU got the ball, Lee headed to the bench. What happened to the old sports axiom, the best players play? Hopefully that rotation won't bite Les on the Plains Saturday. When Reggie Bush and Pierre Thomas return, Sean Payton needs to let the best players play. And if so, he'll include running back Chris Ivory in the rotation. Sunday against the Bucks, Ivory rushed for 158 yards. He averaged 10.5 yards per carry. The only blemish on Ivory's mark thus far is his fumbling. But Chris Ivory is fast, and against the Bucks showed surprising speed to go along with that big frame. Sean Payton has always played the best players, and when Pierre Thomas and Reggie Bush return, that should continue by giving Chris Ivory carries.
Good job. I'm concerned about Garrett Hartley, though. I think, keeping him in that position could come back to haunt us down the line. He just doesn't look confident to me.
Well, at some point here, it's going to come down to a field goal in several games. Right. And I think that's a concern, but I think Sean Payton is staying with this guy. Let's hope that you're wrong. But I do agree that at some point here in the future, we're going to have more kicks like the Falcons game and games like that where you want to lose the game.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Ed.
Welcome to the Sean Payton Show. I'm Angelina Swords.
And I'm Sean Payton.
Coach, the team really put together a complete game against the Bucks. It was 4 quarters of some pretty stellar Saints football.
It was one of our most complete games this season, and it was great to see, really in all phases, our coverage units and special teams. Our defense did a tremendous job, and our offense run the ball and throw the ball with success. So it was an important win for us.
And I have to congratulate you, as well as the hardworking crew here at the Sean Payton Show, on being nominated for not 1, but 2 Emmy Awards.
Wow, that's pretty strong. I mean, I know this. I don't know a lot about the Emmys, but I know it helps when we're winning football games. So let's keep going, and who knows? Maybe we'll win a couple Emmys.
Yeah, winning football games never hurts. So with that winning spirit in mind, we're going to take you back to that Sunday 31-6 victory over the Bucks in Tampa Bay.
Since realignment in 2002, the NFC South has had its last place team finish first the next season every year except 2008. Though they only have 4 sacks on the season, the Bucks have 9 interceptions. That kind of larceny has contributed to a +5 turnover differential. If this game is tight, a very interesting contrast could be underscored. When the Saints lost to the Bucks in the Dome in their last meeting in December, the Bucks would win the game in overtime on Connor Barth's 47-yard field goal. Barth comes into this game having made his last 12 attempts. The Bucks have been riding a hot kicker. The Saints are currently saddled with a cold one. That's a trend the Saints probably can't afford to perpetuate today. Breeze claps his hands, wants to get this play underway quickly, and does. With time, he throws near sideline. Moore takes it in. 10, 5, touchdown. And Lance Moore in the end zone for the 4th time this season. Breeze in the shotgun. 5 wide receivers. Breeze with a lot of time. Steps up, throws. He's got a receiver down at the 10-yard line. Taken in into the end zone for the touchdown is Robert Meacham. right hash mark, 27-yard field goal by Garrett Hartley. It is up, and it is good. Chris Ivory is the lone setback behind Breeze, and he flares out of the backfield and takes in the pass. Ivory running hard, and he's going to break 2 or 3 tackles before he is swarmed over and taken down at the 25-yard line. Chris Ivory all the way to the 15, down to the 11-yard line. Throws right flat, and this is Heath Evans with the touchdown. Heath Evans in the end zone for the first time this season. And that's going to send a lot more of these Tampa Bay Buck fans scurrying to the exits. And they will try to avert this shutout on a 47-yard attempt by Connor Barth on its way. He missed it again. He hit the upright once more. 4th and goal from the 2. Freeman out of the shotgun exclusively. He looks, he throws into the end zone, and it is going to be caught for the touchdown. Hand off Ivory again, and Ivory has some running room, maintains his balance, down to the 20, inside the 15, down to the 11-yard line. Look at Chris Ivory. Betts gets the call. Betts burrows his way into the end zone for the touchdown. And the Saints have won it handily here in Tampa Bay.
We're going to take a look back at a few key plays in our win versus Tampa Bay last week on the road. And generally, when you have a game like we had last week, there's a lot of different plays we could put on here. But the first one was actually the first play of the game versus Tampa. Chris Ivory's in the game, and we're in a 2-by-2 set. So we put tight end Jeremy Shockey here, tight end Dave Thomas right here, and then both receivers are going to be in charge of blocking either the corner or the safety, and the play side receiver, again, corner or safety. We're going to do a good job with both receivers. You can tell that they're in tight splits here, and the tight ends we put in a 2-point stance. Sometimes this is a passing set for us, but in this case with Chris Ivory and where we're at in the field, we're going to run the football. The initial design to this play is to continue to push, maybe cut up, and occasionally push and cut back. Chris Ivory does a real good job of pressing this initially, and you're going to get a chance to see his speed as it cuts all the way back. Pretty good run to start the game, and one which you really don't know, or the plan wasn't initially to get over here all the way this far to our left. The next clip we're going to show you is our first touchdown. The look we're going to see from Tampa on this 3rd down is 2 deep with man underneath. So Lance Moore has got man-to-man here. Marcus Colston has got man-to-man here. Our tight end's got man-to-man with the linebacker. The other player inside here, Henderson's got man-to-man, and you can see Late getting lined up to Robert Meacham. Everyone's got a man underneath. 2 deep, 5 under, 2 man. So now the receiver's got to create a little separation. The half safeties are still in charge of their half of the field. The play's initially designed for Marcus Colston to find this cavity between the safeties. What Drew sees, though, is the safety on the weak side, play Marcus Colston, and that opens up a good throwing window here to Lance Moore, and that's what Drew sees. He climbs up in the pocket. We've got great protection, but watch Lance Moore at the bottom of the screen beat Aqib Talib. He creates the separation, protects the sideline, and gives Drew a great target. That would be 2 key plays. We have a bunch of them, but we're just going to show you those 2 because we don't have enough time.
Up next, Saints players take time out to promote fitness and have a little fun.
So you can't do it one hand push up.
The Sean Payton Show is brought to you by Crystal Clear Imaging, Sign Solution Specialists. Home Depot, more saving, more doing. That's the power of Home Depot. Hollywood Trucks, the #1 choice for entertainment transportation. Carrollton Tech, a leading provider of network services and website development. And the Voodoo Music Experience Halloween Weekend. Worship the music.
Congratulations to Drew Brees and his wife Brittany on their 2nd child, who was born this past Tuesday. Now little Balin has a baby brother, Bowen Christopher Brees.
Bowen Brees. How long before it's Bo and then in New Orleans, how long before it's B-E-A-U-X?
Yeah.
I think that's coming pretty soon.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Now, this past Tuesday also, the Saints joined forces with United Way to promote the importance of health and wellness through an organization called Hometown Huddle. And this organization was designed to tackle childhood obesity.
They've been doing a great job. For over 12 years, they tie together with the NFL and the Play 60, keeping our youth active and really promoting it throughout our country. And the efforts they've done have been just outstanding. And the results we've seen have been wonderful.
Before today, we had nothing.
Well, the school that I was at, we pretty much just had a big dirt sort of area, which wasn't really a field.
The first time I had any sort of anything was whenever I got to high school, but nothing as nice as this.
It's huge, you know, you're going from not even having anything on the outside to having a whole gym on the inside.
At the Hometown Huddle schools, we've really spread them around greater New Orleans area, and New Orleans East was particularly hit hard after Katrina. So this is a very special intercultural school, and so I think it just shone out because it's different.
We were contacted by United Way, and we understood that there was someone looking to do a wonderful sports facility initiative out in New Orleans East. Because we're a relatively new charter school, we don't have a lot of things for the kids to do in the physical fitness realm.
They're still in kind of temporary facilities, but we're giving them some assets to make it have a real permanent feel.
Just make it feel like it's home.
For our world champion New Orleans Saints to be simply present with the children, you know, when doing an activity like this speaks volumes, and you can see it in their expressions.
Ooh, I seen it. When the kids came in, it was excitement. Everybody just jumped up, 8 classrooms.
I know growing up as a kid, those guys were bigger than life, regardless of their size. You know, people would look up and be surprised at Lance Moore as much as they are at me.
It's pretty special, you know, it never gets old just seeing the smiles on the kids' faces and when we come out and do events like this.
You know, they hear it probably all the time from parents or their teachers, but, you know, when they look up to us as players, so when the NFL gets involved and they're telling kids to exercise and get out and play, and then we actually come out and play with them, I think it encourages them a little bit more, and it means a lot more to them.
One of my old coaches used to say it's all about just getting small wins, and it's just one day, just one afternoon, but, you know, a bunch of little things like these things add up.
Anytime that United Way and its base of support can draw attention to an issue, we can begin to have real impact.
Fighting childhood obesity is really key. It's a real important initiative. It's also a real problem in the state of Louisiana.
I just think about how, you know, people with so many health issues in today's society, and I can't imagine, you know, what some people go through, and it starts when you're a kid.
Learning at an early age to incorporate physical fitness into your daily routine is important because the things that you learn as a child are the things you continue to do as you get older into adulthood.
You know, New Orleans is known as a food city and a party city. I'd love to have us transition to also be a healthy city.
You know, throughout the country, wherever there's an NFL franchise, there is a relationship with United Way. Of course, in New Orleans, in this region, we think we have a very favored relationship with the New Orleans Saints, and it's very special. We do seem to have a unique bond.
I feel like the players not only feel responsible, but they just want to give back if they can, because they just realize how important fans have been to us.
Everyone deserves to have a place, you know, to go, to run around and be a kid, especially at school.
And we're building things that maybe weren't here before Katrina, but are going to be a great experience for our kids. And the sports and the leadership that the Saints are providing to me is just really awesome. It's inspiring, and I think our kids are picking up that energy.
You know, you see it every day on TV, you see other schools, you see other organizations, but until it happened to you, they can always say, you know what, 20 years ago I met this player, I met that player. That's big. It's going to carry through them for a lifetime. It's a lifetime thing.
Coming up, special teams playmaker Courtney Roby laces them up for a day of shopping.
Decisions.
Sanchez throws an interception to Sharper. It's back at the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Midfield, Sanchez to beat. He won't do it. Look at Darren Sharper.
Coach Darren Sharper, who's been on the PUP list, practiced this week. And I know there are a lot of Saints fans out there who are really excited about him potentially joining the lineup again.
There's no question, with his experience, just having him back out there, practicing with our defense, the trick is going to be really to gauge where he's at come this weekend's game and each week as we proceed forward to see if he's healthy enough to play. And we're hoping he can play this weekend.
Us too. Now, another major playmaker on the Saints is, of course, special teams guru Courtney Roby.
Courtney Roby came here, and all he's done is gotten better and better. First as a returner, but he's a gunner on our special teams. He plays on all 4 core special teams. He's been a huge contributor to our team and really excelled last season and is having a great season this year. I also heard he's kind of a picky shopper.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. He actually let us tag along with him to go shoe shopping.
We're here at Saks Fifth Avenue. Thought I'd be shopping a little bit for some, some dress shoes. Gotta look fly, gotta look clean for the away trips and whatnot. So, we're here at Saks Fifth and, see what we can come up with.
That's Courtney Roby once more. He does all the dirty work on the special teams. Courtney Roby gives this team a bit of a spark. Courtney Roby, who does it so well.
All right, here we go. Here we go. 3rd floor. All right, I see they got the loafers. My style with the, with the shoes is, pointy toe. My suits are custom cut, and they fit real nice. So I can't have anything too outrageous. So I try to find the slim look. So we'll see what we can come up with. I see so many I like. I guess I better start trying them on. Can I see these in 10.5? I try to be conservative. Back maybe when I was a little younger, I'd be more outgoing and out, a little flashy with it, but I try to be more professional, so to speak. So try to keep it low key, but I always try to look good though. So I guess you can say that's my passion, side passion, so to speak, is shoes, and I got too many. Got way too many, so. I like that. Run through one more time, make sure I'm not overlooking anything. We had to dress up, every away trip. So, just kind of add this to the collection. My favorite part about, playing special teams is, just going out there and performing with my 10 other teammates, just trying to make a play and, a lot of exciting things happen on special teams. You have big collisions, a lot of long plays and whatnot. So, just going out there and, like I said, it's just 11 guys, just going out there working hard and, just playing hard. If we're going with best dress, I definitely had to give the vote to myself, but I'm sure there are 52 other guys on the team that would, save themselves. It's a lot of style on that on the team, so you got a lot of Crocs with the eye still on the shoe, i.e. Roman Harper.
See these shoes? These are my Gators, and ain't nobody got the real Gator eye on but me. You see that? Looking at you. Yeah, it's a little softer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Decisions. Appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are going to go with the Pradas. That's it. Walked away with the brown chocolate Pradas. So I think it'll look good with the suit. So I think we made the right decision.
Say bye-bye, Courtney Roby.
For every home game, I give away 2 of my tickets to a true Saint, someone who, despite adversity, overcomes all odds and keeps a great attitude throughout. This week's true Saint is Carrie Martin. 4 years ago, Carrie Martin was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her life before her breast cancer was all about her job. As an educator for 24 years and as a school counselor, Carrie had assisted numerous kids in their time of need and given countless students direction, guidance, and encouragement in their lives. Today, Carrie is healthy again and still making a positive difference at her school. Carrie, we hope you enjoy the game this weekend.
Well, we would like to wish Carrie Martin the very, very best. And if you would like to contribute to the fight against breast cancer, we have that coveted pink NFL gear, as well as Believe bracelets, which support the Saints, but most importantly, they support this great cause. So just go to the website, theshawnpaytonshow.com, for more information on how to purchase these items. All the proceeds do go to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. On September 10th, 2006, Sean Payton's inaugural year with New Orleans, he led his team to a win over the Cleveland Browns in his first game. Only one other head coach garnered a victory in his first game with the Saints. Who was it? Jim Mora, J.D. Roberts, Jim Haslett, or Tom Fears? We'll give you the answer coming up. So, Saints fans, who was it? The answer is B, J.D. Roberts. And that actually came in the middle of the 1970 season, following the departure of Tom Fears.
Hey, Coach. Eric Dickerson here. You're playing the Browns this week. So what's the plan? Tell me. I know it's got to be something good.
Eric Dickerson, I appreciate the question. I could tell you this, our game plan would be a lot easier if you had eligibility and were going to line up for us. You're a great player, a Hall of Fame player, and we're going to go through a couple of key things that we think we have to do to contain the Cleveland Browns. The first thing you see when you watch the tape is they've gone through transition at quarterback. They've played 3 different quarterbacks with Jake Delhomme, and now they're starting Colt McCoy. McCoy's lined up last week getting his first start in the NFL against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. That's no easy assignment for a rookie, let alone his first start. One of the things you look for in a quarterback is what kind of poise does he have, and can he throw the football when somebody's in his face or someone's unblocked? The first clip is going to be just a simple Y corner route. We call this a China route. So I'm going to freeze it, and you're going to see the tight end for the Cleveland Browns run what is a corner route, and you're going to see the outside receiver run what we call a dart. You'll notice that in the pocket, there's going to be a free rusher that comes free with the line error inside. But watch McCoy, with this in his face, step, knowing he's going to take the hit, and end up making this throw accurately. So here's a guy through the line of scrimmage. McCoy sits in there, waits for it to develop, and the throw is accurate and on time. That's something that you either have or you don't. He has a lot of poise, he's an accurate player, and he's played in a lot of big games. Now we're going to go to their defense. And the one thing about Cleveland, like a lot of other teams in their division, they're based from a 3-4 defensive alignment. But when you get into your third down or your nickel snaps, you'll notice that they're in a kind of an atypical 4-man rush now. So this is a nickel snap that they're seeing Pittsburgh in the tight red zone. And when they get into nickel, our old friend Scott Fajita is going to come inside here. Excuse my circles, but he's going to play the Mike linebacker. We're going to watch a red zone play by Pittsburgh, and you're going to see T.J. Ward, the weak safety, come up and support. The one thing about these teams that play in the AFC North, they see great running teams. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati. These guys all know how to run the football, and the safeties know how to support the run. So here they do a good job with this misdirection. They fit the play correctly. They make it spill outside, and the safety there is in a position really to hold it to just a 1-yard gain. We're going to see an experienced offensive line. We're going to see certainly an experienced defensive front. And those are going to be challenges to this week's Payton's plan.
Coach, we mentioned in our trivia question that your first game as Saints head coach actually came against this week's opponent, the Cleveland Browns, back in 2006.
It did. It seems like that's been 10 years ago, but our first game on the road, our first 2 games were on the road, and you really can never prepare yourself for those jitters the first time out, whether you're playing or coaching, and it ended up being a pivotal win for us. We went on to beat Green Bay the following week, and it led to the home game against Atlanta, so a lot of good memories.
And we're hoping for another win against the Browns this Sunday in the Dome. Now, if you'd like to take a look at some more Saints trivia and have a chance to win a signed copy of Coach's book, Home Team, we'll just head on over to our website, theshawnpaytonshow.com.
And Angie, we can't forget last week's winner, Kim Payne, and we'll leave you with that. That's it for the Sean Payton Show.
See you next week.
It's fun for me, to get out here and see the kids and they enjoy us. Get into little push-up competitions and hula hoop competitions, they enjoy it. And, on our off days, it's good to get away from football and, realize there's a lot of things that's bigger than what we do. She got me twice. I tried to get a rematch. She got me both times. I ain't hula hooped in about 15 years, so, it's been a while.
The show with a Halloween night matchup against a 5-1 Pittsburgh team awaiting next week. Today, the Saints were scared straight against a Cleveland team that came into the Dome and doubled their win total. Trick plays turned out to be anything but a treat for the Saints this afternoon, beginning with a crossfield lateral that resembled the Music City Miracle. That play propelled Tennessee into Super Bowl 34. Today's produced just a field goal, but it set the tone early.
When you are looking for a win, you know, you're going to be aggressive, whether it's a throwback to the quarterback, whether it's a fake punt. You know, we failed to recognize and handle that.
All the tricks they had, we did not. You prepare for tricks and you always are alerted by them, but we didn't know it was going to be this many, and they did them all at pretty much the right times in the games, and they all worked for them.
Eric Mangini had plenty in his goodie bag today, including a fake punt that produced a parting even Moses could appreciate. Reggie Hodges' 68-yard rumble would eventually become a 13-3 Cleveland lead. The deficit grew by 7 just a few seconds later. Drew Brees, apparently in costume as Aaron Brooks today, had a first-half passer rating of 30.2. His 4 interceptions, the most since September 2007 in a Monday night loss to Tennessee.
Anytime you throw, you know, a pick, you're going to be upset about it. You know, anytime you throw 2, you're really upset. 3, you're really, really upset. And then 4, you know, that's not, I don't have days like that. You know, I mean, I've had one of those days in my entire career.
Another frightening trend continued in the second half as Carl Nix was doubled up with a holding call and unsportsmanlike conduct, eventually giving the Saints an unheard of 1st and 35. In all today, the Saints were flagged 7 times for 98 yards.
Close to 100-yard penalties tonight, you know, and obviously I had a big one. Can't wait to see that one on film, and you know, we'll see what happens. But those are the things that you got to take control of.
You know, we understand those things. We've won that way in the past, and yet now we're doing it to ourselves, you know, on the flip side, and I think that's the part that's so frustrating.
Meanwhile, the defense was doing enough to keep what should have been a blowout manageable. Through 3 quarters, the Browns were held to just 163 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was their punter, and the Saints were dominating time of possession nearly 2-1. Yet the scoreboard read, Cleveland 20, Saints 3. The Saints would make it a 10-point game with 13.5 minutes to play, and finally the Dome had a reason to get crunk. But instead, the defense fell into a funk. Cleveland used a 3rd trick play to help keep alive their longest drive of the game and get a field goal that ultimately put the game out of reach.
We needed a chance to get the ball back to our offense, and you know, we did get them out. Well, we had them in 3rd and medium and got them down, but then they called a flag on me for hands of the face. Then they started running the ball, and we couldn't stop the run late in the game, and you know, that's frustrating for our defense because we had been playing well up until that point, and we just didn't do what we needed to do to win the game.
The more desperate team won in the Superdome today. Which team will be more desperate next Sunday?
There's nothing positive about losing to that team with this team. There's nothing positive. We got to play better. So until we start doing that, then we're going to have things like this happen on Sunday. So we got to play better. There's a much better team coming in here next week.
And the numbers don't lie. A year ago, Brees had a passer rating north of 109, and the Saints were 13-3. This season, he's averaging a pick per game, a passer rating still respectable at 97.6, but nothing respectable today. 4 interceptions, 2 returned for scores, and the Saints are 4-3. We talk more about the Saints' 3rd loss of the season. NewOrleans.com beat writer Brian Alley Walsh joins us. You looked at Brees' numbers, comparatively speaking. Really to about anyone right now, today was not a good day. This is a trend we're starting to see. I don't want to call it a scary trend, but it's something that it's not an outlier anymore. What do you think's the root cause of this?
Well, you know, Scotty, we've been asking ourselves in the media, and I know Who Dat Nation's been asking themselves really for much of this season, what is wrong with Drew? And I remember asking him directly during the press conference a week or 2 ago, and you know, this is before
nothing. Fine.
This is before his child was born and everything, and you know, and he's cool and calm, and nothing's wrong, and yet, you know, you see a game like today, and you go, well, you know, what is wrong? What's wrong with not only Drew, but what's wrong with this offense? You don't see wide receivers separating from defensive backs.
They can't get open. Down the field,
yeah,
they're having a really hard time
getting
getting
ball,
open.
Scotty, you can just see things develop, and you've got to be able to break away from your defenders. If not, then Drew's got to eat the ball, and this is what is happening, or make bad decisions, which is happening. We don't normally see Drew Brees do this.
And you're seeing a continuity that he alluded to once again with Liddell Betts on his first interception. He said he read that Betts was going to run a curl route. Betts ran outside. Thus, it looked like a really bad pass initially to me, but as Drew explained it, thinking he was going to run the curl route, Scott Fujita undercuts it and gets that first pick of the game. That's a communication problem that you're starting to see between, and it's not the first time that he and Liddell Betts have had communication
That's correct.
problems.
It's happened a couple of times, and Liddell has owned up to it, and Drew has, has kind of bitten the bullet, so to speak, I mean, but this is some of the things that you're dealing with when you have a lot of changeover in personnel.
Yeah, and one of those changeovers is because of the injury to Pierre Thomas. And today, Jay Glazer on his Twitter account posting that Sean Payton is frustrated with Pierre Thomas and the extended absence because of that ankle injury. And he's very impressed with Chris Ivory, and Glazer added that even when Thomas returns, he could be a healthy scratch. After the game today, Pierre shrugged off any strain in his relationship with his head coach, saying he knew nothing about the Glazer report, but he did add that even he is starting to get frustrated with the progress of his rehab.
That's what's frustrating me. I don't know. I don't know when it's going to heal. I'm doing as all as I can to be in that training room each and every day, getting constant treatment every day. I mean, it's hard for me just sitting back and watching. So I'm trying my best to do what I have to do to get this ankle healed and fully ready, because I want to go out there and play so bad, and help my teammates out. But I can't mess this ankle up even more. So I'm gonna take my time, be cautious, and be ready when it's time for me to go. I'm gonna go out there.
Are there differing opinions on maybe how to go about your rehab right now?
No.
So he puts it pretty bluntly. It looks, there's no differing of opinions, but I think he alludes to the fact that he wants to take it easy on this ankle. You got to remember, he doesn't have a contract after next year, and I think that's starting to play into it a little bit. If he comes back, rushes it, hurts his ankle, what kind of money does he get next year? I think he's looking at his future, and that could be some of this frustration that Sean Payton is alluding to in Jay Glazer's report.
This is kind of bubbling over here, and we saw it in Sean Payton's facial expressions and his statements to us Friday at a press conference, where it's the first time where he's kind of said, I'm totally through speculating on where Pierre Thomas's injury standpoint is right now.
Odd choice of words.
Yeah, very much so for Sean. Sean doesn't even inject any kind of really feelings about an injury situation, but in this case he did. And it does kind of help you read between the lines as to what's going on here. If indeed Pierre is doing this for a contract year, that's wrong. If he's doing it because he wants to be as completely healthy before he gets on the field, that's another thing. And Sean Payton knows the way this young man is thinking. So hopefully they get this ironed out, because you don't want this thing to fester.
With that, and it only will until something is, until one person comes out and says one thing or the other.
Well, the idea
about the article
is for Pierre to get healthy and get back on the field. And I think what's happening here is that Sean may feel that perhaps he's closer, needs to be there on the field, and Pierre says he's not ready. So
now we'll keep an eye on that. Well, speaking of injuries, Darren Sharper logged most of his snaps today on third downs and special teams. More importantly, it was his first game back since last year's Super Bowl. The Pro Bowl safety logged 2 tackles. Said he felt good after the game physically, but was still disappointed he couldn't help produce more turnovers against a rookie quarterback.
He never really got put in a position when he had to carry the team too much. He did a lot of different things to kind of not put too much pressure or responsibilities on him.
So he came in third down, nickel packages. Your thoughts on how he played, and what's the progression at this point as far as playing time for him?
Well, considering that it was his first live action since the Super Bowl, I mean, he certainly did well. And he's going to get better and stronger as these games progress. But the one drive that they needed to stop in the fourth quarter was 20-10, and Cleveland took the ball down for 7.5 minutes and kicked a field goal and made it 23-10. That's when they needed to stop, and they didn't get it.
That was the dagger the Saints just couldn't overcome. Brian Alley Walsh, you can read his stuff at neworleans.com.
Thanks.
We always appreciate you coming down. Stay with us. Much more Fourth Down after the break.